So the other video should be out by. Wait. What's up, guys? Hey, fat stick. Hey, look. I saw this video that said, "What is?" Wait, before I even say into that, I'm sorry that I'm putting this video out before the other video that I want to put out, which should be out by now. Um, yeah, but I ran into some technical difficulties. As in, for one, I had to find out how to get it off the camera. Not find out, but go get the parts to get it off the camera. Got that. Okay. Found out that, yeah, my camera stopped recording for like the last 20 minutes of one of my videos, like 12, 15 minutes of one of my videos, which is like, damn, because it was really, I was just telling y'all about myself and just different stuff like that, but we're gonna get all that done. But I don't know if I want to tell y'all about myself in this video or not, so I'm just gonna get to the video first, and then after that, we'll go from there. But I saw this, what is medieval junk food? What medieval junk food was like? What the and yeah, I'm very curious, cause was it good? Was it nasty? Was it bland? Was it salty? Was it peppery? Because you know they like to save a lot of meats and all kind of stuff with salt. They feel like salt was just a preserve. It just could preserve the world. So let's see what it do.
Stocking up on chips
Man, I
and
hate that we got
Twinkies and hitting the
commercials.
drive-thru for a greasy cheeseburger seem like modern institutions. But the world's love
Look at his ass chomping down in that motherfucker.
affair with junk food is a tale as old as time. A lot of what would become the fast food industry began in medieval Europe, where people
They just look like they having the happiest of times. No, that shit wasn't from the medieval times. Oh,
satisfied their junk food cravings with some interesting cuisine. But knights weren't exactly galloping their horses through the drive-thru or grabbing
like come on. See, this is more realistic. This is actually more realistic because y'all don't know, but where I'm from, yeah, it's pretty realistic.
candy bars on their way to the castle. Instead, medieval fast food catered to travelers and the poor, and it wasn't always tasty. Today in Weird History, we're taking a look at what junk food was like in the Middle Ages. But before we get started, be sure to subscribe to the Weird History channel. And while you're there, leave a comment and let us know what other historical food topics you would like to hear
Subscribe to my channel.
about next. Okay, time to get medieval on those Cool Ranch Doritos.
Also, you know, of course, subscribe to his channel. By all means, subscribe to his channel because if it wasn't for his channel, I wouldn't be able to make this video. But definitely subscribe to my channel. Duh.
London is a city known for its major landmarks and for being a hub of British culture, as well as being the place where Harry Potter was hatched in Big Ben by owls. During the Middle Ages, London was a center of trade and
Love Harry Potter.
commerce, but poverty throughout Europe was high. So for many Londoners, it wasn't easy, convenient, or even possible to cook at home. Cooking equipment and fuel weren't exactly cheap. On top of that, the poor were packed into tenement housing that often didn't have any furnishings, let alone a hearth. Without a hearth, cooking was essentially an unscalable mountain, unless you wanted to fill your home with smoke and risk burning your already meager dwellings to the ground. So people visited cook shops instead, the old-timey equivalent of picking up some takeout. Cook shops sprouted up around the
Bro. You telling me this a video? I'm not watching this shit. I'm not watching this shit. Man. Alright, maybe. Okay. You know, I need to.
Thames to serve the community's fast food needs. These 24-hour cook shops supplied hot food
I'm
to
sorry,
tourists
guys.
and residents alike. They were open every day. with menus that changed depending on the season.
I
But
I
instead of
just
driving
feel like
through
the
on a
whole
chariot
video
or
was
horse,
about to
the
be
cook
like
shops
this,
offered more of
bro.
a stroll-through experience. Customers would walk up to the shops to purchase their favorite hot meal. Others would buy what they wanted, then take it home to eat later, because scarfing down a plate of takeout is
Look at his
what I
ass.
do in public. Cook shops weren't limited to London. One city street in Bristol became known as
Hey, I feel him though. I ain't gonna lie. Hey, I don't know how y'all feel about McDonald's in your countries or in your states, but ain't nothing wrong with the McDonald's burger.
Cook's Row. Bristol's cook shops offered more variety, including poultry and fish, and may have been among the first to subscribe to the adage, "It's the smell that sells." They'd have their hearths outside the shop and would strategically throw food onto cooks so that the smell would entice customers over to grab a quick bite. Some shops served sweets. Others were known for their pancakes and bread. But the most popular might have been the
Man, the pancakes bad, dinner pie dry as fuck. Yo, I don't know why, but I just feel like the pancakes back then was dry. I don't know.
shops that sold meat pies.
Hey, I ain't gonna lie, meat pie probably boss.
Those delicious meat-based treats were a popular seller, kind of like a medieval hamburger, but without the fries and Coke. Speaking of burgers,
Meat pies were the Big Macs of the Dark Age. I could see it. I could really see it. I will say that Big Mac did die out for sure.
everyone loves a Big Mac. There's just something about clenching most of the basic food groups in your fist and then
I've only finished one of those in my whole entire life.
porking them down like a snake smuggling dinner through airport security. So it makes sense that meat pies, the Dark Age version of a drive-in hamburger, were so popular. These savory little Hot Pockets were filling and portable, the mark of a blockbuster fast food item. But Mrs. Lovett's signature dish had a dark side: spoiled meat. As it turns out, rancid ingredients could be a real
Bruh, okay, I'm sorry I'm pausing so much. I watched this video on best food review shows, and I think that's how you say it. And he went to India, and they were sticking these meat pies inside of this concrete furnace. Man, that stuff was so fire. It looked so good.
problem in medieval cuisine. According to a 13th century Norwich report, cooks would use diseased pork in their pies and serve them to customers without batting an eye. It wasn't uncommon for shop owners to warm up days-old spoiled pies instead of wasting them. Poverty was extremely desperate, and food safety wasn't exactly on the cooks' minds. So the decision whether to heap expired food onto the garbage cart or reheat it and sell it to customers was often disturbingly easy. Probably like it is today, if we're being totally honest. When they weren't recycling bad food, shops often undercooked the meat, which earned some cooks a bad reputation. A saying from the time claimed, "God sends the meat, but the devil sends the cooks." The shift manager at Waffle House used to say the same thing.
Yo. Why this stupid ass? Yo, what? Yo. What?
Bread was one of the most common foods during Europe's Castle period, but most households didn't have their own grain, so they had to buy it from bakers. And while selling ready-made bread was great, bakers could do much more than that for their customers. For example, if someone brought their own meat to the bakery, they could have the baker wrap it in bread and bake it. The idea caught on, maybe a little too well. London passed a law in 1350 preventing bakers from charging more than a penny if customers brought their own meat from home.
Ooh,
Meanwhile,
I know that. I had went to freaking Disney, no, Universal recently. First time ever going. I went like a couple months ago. First time ever going. That shit was so fun. If y'all have not been, y'all need to go. It's so fun. But I had this freaking turkey wing. That bit was just.
you bring your own meat to Burger King one time, and they ban you for life. It wasn't like it was a cow. I'm not sure what the big deal was. Another modern-day fast food item came about around this time, too. The bread bowl. Modern Europeans pioneered the concept by serving soup and stews in a bowl made out of bread, which they called trenchers. The practice helped bulk up a meal, and was probably cheaper as it cut.
That motherfucker looks so dry.
down on the need for dishes. But bread bowls weren't the only carb-loading option of the Middle Ages. In addition to being a staple of state fairs and aimless mall
Man, where were the black people in the medieval times? I've always wondered that.
wandering, soft pretzels were also incredibly popular in medieval Europe. 3 simple ingredients combined to create the twisted treat. Just mix a little bit of water, some flour, and some salt, and you've got yourself a filling snack officially approved by the Catholic Church. That's right. During fasting periods like Lent, when Catholics avoided eating certain animal products, pretzels often took their place as a substitute. Monks would hand them out to kids reciting their prayers, while others would distribute them to the poor. Outside of the church, pretzels became a symbol of luck and prosperity. And what's not to feel lucky about when you're chowing down on a handmade pretzel? Nothing completes a fast food run like a 6-pack of booze, because if you're treating yourself, you might as well go all the way. And while drinking alcohol has been a popular activity, medieval Europeans really liked to drink, possibly because they were living in medieval Europe. Not even Lent had any effect on the common folks' thirst for memory-erasing refreshment. Part of observing Lent meant not eating meat.
I be smashing all that fish, boy.
So folks would fill that gap in their regular diets with other things. Fish became the alternative choice for some, others.
Why the heads look like kings on a card? Like, the chess pieces. What the fuck? Y'all saw that?
Turned to booze or diets with other things. So folks would fill that gap in their regular diets with other things. Fish became the alternative choice for some, others turned to booze. While it provided temporary solace from abstaining, the practice of staying thoroughly soaked through Lent didn't sit well with some prominent religious figures. In 1400, the Benedictine monk Robert Ripon had strong words for anyone drowning their sorrows. He scolded excessive drinking as flying in the face of the abstinence that Lent was meant to symbolize, and opined that people got more drunk during Lent than they did during the entire rest of the year. Of course, he probably didn't have to eat some of the meat substitutes that commoners were forced to turn to, like the mock egg, a dish that was invented as a meat replacement during Lent. If he had, he might have been pounding.
I don't know what that is, but that shit actually looks good. I don't know if it's like grits, and I don't know what that sucker look good.
Brews in the tavern right beside them. Making a mock egg is easy even today. Just take a few empty eggshells, fill them with a mixture of almond milk jelly and crunchy almonds. Then dye it yellow and choke it down with a mug of ale. Tasty? Now pass the beer, please. Sugar is one of those things we take for granted today, but during the medieval period, sugar was pretty hard to come by and was usually out of reach of the masses. Only those who could afford the expensive sweet stuff regularly consumed.
I don't know why, but I just randomly got a crazy. I'm hungry as hell.
It. So rather than sugar-filled candy bars, people would flock to the cook shops for treats sweetened with honey. A fritter recipe from the 14th century cookbook Anonimo Veneziano calls for apples, saffron, flour, and honey. An earlier, more frugal fritter recipe was just fried dough, stuffed with gingered almonds and topped with a delicious bee juice. Gingerbread, another popular item for satisfying the peasantry's sweet tooth, also used honey, incorporating ginger, cloves, and pepper, giving it an inimitable sweet and spicy flavor. But when you're in the mood to throw money at a cholesterol spike, there's nothing quite like the funnel cake, a delicious combo of fried dough and powdered sugar. The mother of all carnival foods got its start in medieval times. Funnel cakes began as fried cakes called crisps because of their
Boy, the crisps look good and shit.
sugary topping. The cakes were a rare treat. Since ingredients like sugar was so limited, people would often improvise their own recipes, which is how we got dishes like fritter of milk, which is just fried, sweetened cottage cheese, otherwise known as a dessert you give your kids when you want to punish them. Waffles, as we know them, also came about during this time. The original waffles date back to ancient Greece. Known as ovelios, they were flat cakes cooked between 2 plates, and they weren't sweet, which is a huge oversight that arguably contributed to Greece's downfall. Later, the Catholic Church began making flour waffle wafers, which typically depicted biblical scenes. But it wasn't until the Crusade.
I don't know if y'all had them little vanilla wafers, strawberry wafers. The little rectangular prisms. Strawberry.
Crusades when a more recognizable version of waffle batter, combining cinnamon, honey, and cream, really took off in Europe. And in the 15th century, the Dutch invented the famous grid patterns that transformed waffles into the optimal syrup and whipped cream delivery systems celebrated by junk food connoisseurs centuries later. Initially, waffles were a common street food, but would eventually become the breakfast and dessert staple we fling into toasters to this day. Thanks to the discovery of the New World, sugar became affordable and accessible to everyone by the 16th century. London even opened a sugar refinery, prompting a trend that continues in modern food processing today, adding sugar to almost everything. Sugar quickly replaced honey in most desserts. People began crystallizing their fruit in syrups, and even started using sugar to season their meats. If you cover a plate of fish and vegetables with enough sugar, eventually it tastes just like sugar, which was a welcome respite for poverty-stricken families accustomed to eating rotten meat pies. Sugary concoctions became popular junk foods during the period, including crispy crusts topped with berries, fruit, or ginger, and a sweet, fruit-filled ravioli called Cuscanoles. Cuscanoles is just a good name. You can picture that on a Hostess wrapper next to a mascot, like the Cuscanoles Kid. This love of sweetness transformed the European diet to such a degree that the word dessert can even be traced back to this time. Derived from the French word desservir, meaning to clear the table, the French were using it to mean last course by the mid-16th century. The English later adapted dessert to refer to the final course of fruits and sweets that people ate after their meal. The Cuscanoles Kid would be proud. So what do you think? Would you be willing to try some junk food from the Dark Ages? Let us know.
I'd be down. I just gotta find. Yeah, I'd be down for sure. Okay. Like, comment, and fucking subscribe.
Know in the comments below.
Oh.
While you're at it, check out some of these other videos from our weird history.